If you have ever struggled to play hands together at the piano, it's for one of two reasons, and this video actually solves both with one exercise. It's what I call the points of choreography, which I actually discovered on accident about 14 years ago. It helped me for years to come after that, and it's continued to help more than 100 students that I have taught in person. So I definitely know at this point it's tried and true, and it will help you. So here we go. Basically, it's the idea that at any given point in the music, you might encounter a moment where you have both fingers of the hand matching. So for example, you're playing along, and at some moment, the left hand has two and the right hand has two. And when they match, that's called a point of choreography, because it's like a little checkpoint in your brain that there was all sorts of mental scramble leading up to that, but that feels comfortable because it's easier to recognize, especially when you're looking out for it. Another point of choreography could be the pitch itself. So for example, same sequence, I'm going through, and all of a sudden I realize both of my hands are playing the note E. Regardless of whether or not they're the same finger, they match on the letter. And when they do that, it provides a moment of really hearing a purity and a connection. So I'm going to show you in 3 different pieces examples of both. The reason this solves most hands together issues is because most people don't realize how either their fingering or how their letter names are connecting between the hands. The only other thing that you're going to struggle with is articulation or rhythm, which I have many other exercises for already on my channel that I've made videos for. So let's break down connecting your pitches and your fingerings. Bach Invention in D minor, measure 3. Let's get going. So 5 and 2 to start, 4. Third note here, I have, sorry to flip you the bird, but middle fingers on both of those notes, okay? So what that tells me is at that moment, if I laser in on that, I at least get that. Maybe something goes wrong and I'm like, okay, but I have to have that checkpoint of both third fingers. That's going to allow me to have a little bit more mental relaxation rather than just feeling like I'm droning on for 80 notes in a row. Okay, so now let me show you an example of where the pitches connect. Next measure, we'll start right on it. I use 1, 2, 4 in the right hand. So here we go. 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, this is a secret. It's a hidden one. I have both fourth fingers being used. The reason you might not notice it is in the music, I'm actually going to include this very copy, and I'm going to draw an arrow right now so you can see this. So you're going to see right there what I just drew, the E and the E. And one comes after the other. The reason I still consider this a point of choreography is because the right hand is still being held while the left hand is added. So while it's not an exact moment of played together, it still counts enough because they are held together. And the reason I say this is a secret one is because it's also a point of choreography for the pitch. So notice here that there is both E's as well as both 4s. That one's going to have even more security. And at first when I learned this, I wanted to use the 1, 3, 5 fingering. But I missed that connection of the 5 and the 4. There wasn't a connection. So I literally switched my fingering just to create a point of choreography that it would make it easier to remember. So now I have 4s and the E matching there. Okay, so that's pretty much it, though I have a few more details of where most people would not recognize this and where it can be extra helpful. So I'm going to give 2 more examples. And by the way, real quick on Bach, you will probably articulate it like... And if you articulate it, you have, I acknowledge, released before the other one comes in. That said, I practice everything legato, even if it's written staccato, when I'm first learning it, because it helps me to hear the connections and learn the pathway. So, for example, Opus 76, number 2 by Brahms, the B minor. I learned that fully legato so I could get a freedom in the wrist. Like that's just a tactic I use everywhere, so bonus teaching there. And then in Bach, when you're learning it, you will notice more connections like that as well. So even if in the long run you're playing at full tempo and you end up articulating, I still think noticing these spots is going to be helpful for that security. So let's look at one more example, the Rachmaninoff Red Riding Hood Etude, which also has mostly a letter name connection, but on some of the measures also a fingering connection. So I'm going to play it real quick, 4 measures of it, and then I'll break down the one thing in each one of these measures that holds me together. Actually, I was like, why not just play the whole thing? Okay, so I'm going to go really slowly up until the point, and I'll point it out, because when you first look at this score, it's just a total mess. If you've never learned this piece or you don't know it, it's about 2 measures in, or sorry, 2 pages in, roughly second page, if you want to get a copy on IMSLP. Right here, we have all sorts of things that are not matching. Different notes, different directions, different rhythms, different fingerings. You would look at it and go, what on earth is happening? A lot of that you have to just do slow and muscle memory. But when you get here, you realize both hands are playing D. And in this case, both have 2 as well. C sharp, C, B, B flat, A, and then not as much on the last measure. But look at how much that pulls it together, because there's like sort of this purity in the sound and in the feel. So I like to do a mixture of slow and fast practice. I call it freeze practicing. You do like short spurts and then you freeze at moments you're trying to notice. This is one of the tactics that I referenced earlier, that like where most people will miss the value, is they just slow practice and go, okay, there's a point of choreography, so what? Here's how you draw your attention to it without like losing the sense of performance. You play at full tempo and you freeze on the point of choreography, like this. D, C sharp, and you say it out loud like I just did. If you do not say it out loud, you lose the value of the practice, at least the full value. Because when you say something out loud, it's a different part of the brain than just physically recreating it. And so you're actually activating more brain activity focused on getting that right, therefore making a stronger connection, memorizing it for a longer amount of time, and so on. I literally talk out loud in my practice all the time. I talk out loud for my fingering. I talk out loud for my chord structure. I talk out loud for my letter names. I count the rhythms out loud. I will even talk out loud where my pedal changes are. Basically, any element of the music that can be spoken about, I will speak about and talk out loud while I'm practicing it, and that allows me to retain it for a longer amount of time. So a little memory secret for you there. But again, I'll just do the first 4 exactly how I would do it if I was practicing. D, C sharp, C, B, B flat, A. Now eventually you don't do the freeze. You're gonna have to perform it at some point. So maybe you go a little slower and you just let it go. But now I'm gonna try to say it the moment I play it to increase that awareness that much more. D, C sharp, C, B, B flat. I missed one, but there it is, right? So that's the idea. And there's one more trick that I'm actually going to save for another video, but I want you to watch out for it in the next couple of weeks. It's sort of the concept of not thinking of one hand or the other when you're trying to choreograph the hands, but thinking of what I call the combined hand technique. And I know it sounds very mysterious without explaining it, but just understand that like this video is the foundation for that. It's way more than just looking for points here and there. It's more about how to coordinate everything, rhythms and fingerings and all of it, at an earlier stage of the piece. Not a simpler, like it could be rock 3, it could be the hardest notes in the world, but when you're first learning it, often you can't just jump to looking for 1 or 2 points to save you. So this is a technique you would use when you already kind of know the piece. And that next video coming out in a couple weeks will be the technique you use when you're first learning a piece. Both equally helpful, but for different times. So If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments what you learned, and you can get my free piano guide in the description, which I just frankly have to say, over 2,000 people have now downloaded it, and I hear all the time, people are like, oh, I was like putting off downloading it for like 3 months. You kept telling me to get it, and I was like, oh, it's probably not that good, and then they just went for it. It's free. Like, you don't even have to input a card or anything. You just sign up, you get it the same day, and I promise it will completely change the way you think about the piano, the way you practice, and the way you express yourself even. There's tools for pedaling and expression and all sorts of things, and I would hate for you to miss out on that if you enjoyed this. So I will see you in the next video. Let me know if you ever have any questions.